Good morning, students. Welcome one and all in our today's online session. Today we are going to do the new topic or the new sections from our curriculum, that is literary genre novel. In our in earlier we have seen the history of English novel. That is a background topic or that is a theoretical topic for this section. Now we are actually going to deal the new topic from this section, or we actually do deal with a novel uh, that prescribed for our syllabus, that is To Serve with Love, that is written by E.R. Braithwaite. Basically, how we should deal this novel, that is very important thing, that we have a prescribed one extract, and in the sense of this extract we are particularly going to see To Serve with Love. But before we are going to do uh, the actual topic, or before we are going to deal the actual novel, we have to understand what should be paper pattern for this section. So just talked about the paper pattern of this section. Let's see the this particular section, the board weightage for this particular section is for 4 marks. The nature of activities of this particular section is different from what we have the activities that prescribes in our prose section, particularly in our first section. Here we have the questions on novel, no prescribed form of what we call the extract. There is a no kind of extract, they not given any kind of extract. Rather they ask the questions on the basis of, or they design the activities on the basis of plot, structure, theme, setting, language, characters. So the activities might based on these aspects, or that is for 2 marks, or they might ask the questions or the activities, they might set the activities on the words like describe, explain, compare, contrast, name, discuss. So uh, your activity might be framed with this particular pattern, or they might ask illustrate, interpret, narrate, justify, find, identify. So the nature of these activities are quite different. We have to understand what kind of activities should be prescribed for this section. That is very important. There is no paragraph, there is no extract, they have not given any kind of extract at here. You have to just memorize the thing. You have to just understood the novel, the concept of novel, their main characters, their minor characters, what the theme they asked, what the summary of the novel. On the basis of your memory, these activities should be designed on the basis of your memory. So we have to study these activities in very serious and severe manner. Now we move forward, and we just going to discuss our today's activity, or our today's section that we are going to deal, that we are going to discuss our today's novel, that is To Serve with Love. Here they have given uh, what we say, they have given the cover page of that book, that novel. uh, E.R. Braithwaite is a novelist of this novel. So you, by looking or by seeing the image of cover page, you get the idea, you get a basic idea. This particular novel is deal up on education. Yes, definitely. This novel is about education. It's about what we know, the teacher and student. It's about their relationship, how teacher uh, handle the students, how he find out solutions, uh, the problems he had faced, how he use different tactics. These all things has greatly narrated in this particular novel to serve with love. So, particular these images, or particularly what we know, the cover page has given the clear idea about the nature of the novel, and therefore it is very symbolic. Now we move forward and we are going to see about Edward Ricardo Braithwaite, who well known as E.R. Braithwaite, is born on 1912 and he died on 2016. Was a Ghanaian born British American novelist, writer, teacher. So he had played various roles in his life. He is a Guyana. He born in Guyana, but he basically live in Britain and America, and therefore he always considered British American novelist, writer. He is a writer, novelist also. He is a writer. He is a teacher or diplomat. Best known for his stories of social conditions and racial discrimination against black people. Basically, his writing deal on these severe things. He talked about the social values. He talked about the social conditions. He talks about social problems. Whatever the social problems we face in society, now we know that there is a long kind of battle between black and white. What we know, the racism, and in European countries and in particularly American countries, we have found these kind of things. This is a very severe issues, and that same severe issues has highlighted by E.R. Braithwaite throughout his writing. He's talk about social conditions of black people. He's talking about racial discriminations. So these all things are the subject matters of his writing. He was author of one of the famous 1959 autobiographical novel, To Serve with Love. It is very famous and very popular autobiographical novel, and therefore it is very this particular novel deals a very severe issue, and therefore our syllabus designer purposefully prescribed this novel for our syllabus. So we are really fortunate that we studied this particular novel that published in 1959, and it is basically autobiographical novel of E.R. Braithwaite. He also wrote a kind of homecoming about his tour of Africa, A Choice of Straws, a novel set in London and reclaimed neighbors, Memora, and treatise about racism. So he has written these kind of thing also. Braithwaite numerous writings primarily deal with difficulties of being an educated black man, a black social worker, a black teacher, and simply a human being who found himself in set of enhanced circumstances. So basically, he uh, talks about these all things. Basically, he talks about these all things. Whatever the worst experience he has faced throughout his life, throughout the different stage of his life, means he is a social worker, he is a educator, he is a reformer. So uh, by doing these different roles, by playing these different roles, he had a different, altogether different experience. he go through altogether different experience, and his writing is basically talked about those all things. To Serve with Love is an autobiographical novel, as we had discussed it earlier. And autobiographical means what? It's about himself. It's about himself. This particular novel, To Serve with Love, this particular novel is about E.R. Braithwaite. As a teacher, what experience he gained, particularly the country like Britain, what experience he gained at there, he talked about those experiences. And therefore this novel is considered as an autobiographical novel, because whatever experience he experienced as a teacher, whatever experience he experienced, or whatever uh, experience he lived through, that is a subject matter of his writing. And therefore this particular novel, To Serve with Love, is autobiographical. The narrator is an engineer, but to make both ends meet, he accepts the job of teacher and rough in a rough London. He is an engineer by profession, means he uh, learn engineering throughout his academics, but he wants to accept a different challenge altogether, and therefore he accepts the job of teacher. The school is full of troublemaker students who were rejected from the other schools for their behavior. So this particular school is very famous for worst kind of students, because these school is full of such students who were rejected from the others schools. So that kind of bad, or that kind of troublemaker students mostly found in that school. At the beginning, the narrator is ridiculed and bullied by students, but the later his calm nature and desire to see succeed gradually earn him their respect. So slowly, gradually, he turns out how which different tactics he has used throughout his teaching, how he changed the behavior of students. No doubt, at the very first stage, at the very beginning, students ridicule him, bullied out him, but slowly, gradually, he became very successful to show to win their confidence, so that the thing is there, and he gained the respect among the students. So this particular novel is basically is about that, his journey, whatever the different experience, whatever the different kind of bad experience, means it's from bad to good. Is basically, this particular novel is a journey from bad to goods, means how he turn out entire scenario, whatever bad and different experience but he ultimately not changed himself, rather he changed the others. And this particular novel is the story of that. We move forward, and we talking about the characters. um, we classify the characters into two different groups. First, that characters, it might be there are two kinds of characters, means major characters and another one is minor characters. So major characters who had very strong impact, who had very strong role uh, in that story, they have active presence throughout the story, that is a major characters. And minor characters, they might comes, then we meet these characters in between the stories. But major characters, we found major characters throughout the stories, and we meet minor characters in between the stories. That is the difference between major characters and minor characters. So we've uh, classified the characters into these two groups, major and minor. Let's see first major characters. Ricky Braithwaite, who's narrator. We found Ricky Braithwaite throughout the novel because he narrated the entire story, entire scenario. So he's a one who is a major character. Second one, Glenier Black Blackheart. Then Mrs. Dole Evers, uh, Deheman, Pamela Dare, Mrs. Floret. So these are the major characters, and there are various minor characters like Bob Lehmet, Jacqueline Bundar, Clint, Selma Drew, Hawkman, Myra Joseph, Palmer, uh, Euphemia Phillips, James Purcell, Louisa Seal, Jess Blends, Becky Lee, Josie Dodds, Patrick Feman, Teach Jackson, Monica Page, uh, Barbara Page, Potter. So these all are the minor characters. We meet these characters in between the story. So and we meet the major characters throughout the stories. That is the difference between major and minor characters. So that is the characters. Now we move forward and we're going to see the next thing, that is the summary of the novel. What should be summary of the novel? To Serve with Love is a work of fiction based on the life of author E.R. Braithwaite. So as I said, as I talked with you, this particular novel is autobiographical novel. This particular novel is based on the work and a life of our author, our novelist. He served in the Royal British Air Force in war. So he served in the war, during the war, particularly Second World War. He was unable to find employment. Then, as a black person, he unable to find out the employment. So, at last resort, he applied in a school to become a teacher. Surprisingly, he is accepted at the Grinnell School, London's East End, and is set to teach the senior classes of the school. So, as a black person, what humiliating experience he has gone through, so that humiliating experience he has also experienced. Means he uh, couldn't find any kind of employment as a black person, and it's ultimately makes him frustrated. But at last he got a chance to, means at the end of the day he applied one school. Surprisingly, his application is accepted by that uh, whatever that school, and he just appointed as a teacher to teach senior classes of the school. While reading the novel, we have understand that the time period in which the story takes place is very important. So whatever the time period that has uh, prescribed by the novelist, that is very important. Braithwaite finds that even though he considers himself British and he served in a Royal Air Force, in English do not consider him to one of them. This is leads Braithwaite to feel bitter about English and colonialism, as well as about his white students. So it definitely changed his attitude because Britain's society or British society not ready to accept Braithwaite because he was a black Ghanaian who served in Royal Air Force during the Second World War. then also he was not acceptable by the British society, and this makes him a bitter. This make or turn out him uh, harsh towards the society. So it's definitely changed his attitude towards the British society. He became harsh, he became bitter about Englishmen, about British society, about their concept of colonialism, their discrimination of black and white. He became very bitter about that, and at the same time, his attitude of white students towards the white students. Bradford's teaching's position starts and roughly and it's embarrassed time and again. He considers his students disrespectful, ill-mannered, mischievous, while his students consider him to be an arrogant outsider, unfamiliar with the social environment in which they have grown up. The students harass him from day one, slapping their desks during his lecture, using a foul language, and bullying him to great extent. Even the girl students do not spare a moment to harass Braithwaite. In reaction to that, Braithwaite verbally scolded the girls for acting in an unlikely manner and being uh, unruly in the class. So, as I discussed with you, or as I told you, um, that entire environment, this particular novel is actually picturizing that particular time period. At that time, a black person is not easily acceptable by the society, and particularly the colonial countries like Britain, it's very highly difficult to adjust such a black person in that society. So that same thing and that same experience he found, Braithwaite found, and um, not only the boys but also the girls students also not spare him. They just make him. They just rudely behave with him, annoyingly behave. That is not follow the manners. Uh, they behave mischievously. So basically, they tried from the very first day. They make to harass Braithwaite. So that kind of things we found at the very beginning of his teaching career. When he understand that his outburst has not gained him any respect and cooperation from the students, he changes his teaching and handling tactics, and he decided to interact with them as though they are adults and respectable person. So he changed his tactics because at the end of the day he understood that if you use the traditional way of teaching, I unable I I become fail to handle these students. So he changed his tactics. If I want respect from them, if I want cooperation from them, I should change my tactics. And he used the same way that he start to interact with students. He give respect to them. Uh, he behave or he interact with them as like adults, right, and a respectable person. He requires every girl be referred to as miss, and his students call him a sir. At first the students find the level of uh, difference ridiculous and unnecessary. However, they come ground after only few weeks, completely changing both of their hygienes and their attitudes towards the author. This marks the success of Braithwaite in handling the students in a very suitable way. So that the thing is there. So he just give the means he use that kind of tactic. He use that method that give respect, take respect. He just gave the respect to the students, and these particular tactics is become successful. Students definitely give, they change their uh, way of behaving, they change their attitude, and the same thing, and slowly, gradually, the entire scenario had changed, and that things has found by he used this method in very successful manner, and that is the essence of the story. So how he actually turn out these all things, how he won the hearts of students, how he used a different tactics. He not making compulsion to anyone. He not use a very traditional and rude method of teaching. Rather, he just use unorthodox method, and by following that unorthodox way, he became a successful, and that the thing to serve with love. We move forward, and we're talking about the theme of the novel, the basic theme and the important theme of the novel. I just want to talk about two or three things. That first theme is there. It's about student-teacher relationship. Yes, if you read the entire novel, throughout the novel, we found this particular theme, that there is it's uh, clearly and accurately talked about student teacher relationship. The other two important themes that we have found, that one is racism, how uh, annoyed experience had uh, got or had received by the author or novelist or Braithwaite at the very beginning stage of his career. uh, how rudely students behave towards him, not only students but also entire society, entire colonial society, Englishmen behave towards uh, Braithwaite. So that the thing is that thing definitely mark or that thing definitely highlighted or pointed out towards the racism, because as a black, uh, though he uh, served, served in Royal Air Force during the Second World War, he not easily acceptable by the society, by the British society. Why he not easily accepted it by British society? Even at the very beginning, he unable to find out any kind of employment. So basically, that society not ready to accept him. Why they not ready to accept him? Because he was a black, and that strong sense of racism. So he again pointed out the same thing, that is a very severe social issues of that racism. So as like Braithwaite, any others writing, this particular novel is also focused on the same issue, that is the racism, how black people struggle for survival. They are more twice marginalized than any other white person. So that issue is also greatly highlighted uh, through this particular novel. Next thing we move towards that, uh, what is the synopsis of our extract? So basically, novel, as we know, novel is at least 200 to 1000 or more pages we have. So it's very huge kind of writing, it's very long narrative writing. So it's highly impossible that we have a entire novel for our study. Rather, we have just one extract from that particular novel. So what is going on in that extract, that we are going to say. That is a synopsis of our extract. In this extract, Braithwaite recounts the half yearly report of the Students' Council, in which students of the school report to the faculty and other students on what they have been studying thus far. Braithwaite's class representatives speak knowledgeably about their coursework and place considerable amount of emphasis on how much they have learned about different people, cultures, customs, and the importance of international and interracial cooperation. So, our synopsis or our extract is basically deal on one event, that is uh, if there is a student council going on, and in that there should be uh, recountment or revaluation of half yearly report of the students. So and that revaluation of half yearly report of students that has examined by student council, and each and every class or each and every class has given a different what do we say, different work altogether, different they have a different kind of projects they have given. Each and every class should have a different exercise altogether. So basically, breakfast class representative speak about their coursework, how they learn a different cultures, language, customs, these all things, and how they learn the importance of international interracial cooperation. So that the different tactics or different exercise has given by different group of people. Miss Joseph and Dehem, both students of Braithwaite's class, preside over the meeting. At the outset, Mr. Flore, the headmaster, addressed the meeting with a lengthy but well received presentation. After another, each class gave a brief report of their progress through their chosen representative on what they have been studying in each subject so far. A panel of teachers is chosen for each class to answer any question regarding the report submitted by the class. So that entire procedure has taken place. That the things has described in our extract. That how the student council is going on, how it works, what kind of things should be taken place, how principal or how headmaster has given his keynote address, then how different class representative completed their tasks because they have given a different task. So that the thing is there. So how the entire procedure has taken place from that student council, and how that entire procedure has taken place in that student council, that the thing is there, that the things as recounted by Braithwaite in this particular extract, and that is about our extract.